Hello, everyone. Welcome to this LinkedIn Live from us here at NoraBox on World Mental Health Day. This is a really important time to have some really important conversations. So I've got such great pleasure to be joined by Kate O'Neill from CPSL Mind, who's going to talk to us about suicide prevention. There is a trigger warning on this conversation, then, everybody who's listening. We will gently take you through this conversation step by step, because we know for some of you this is a very sensitive area. We know that our neurodivergent community is vulnerable in this way, and I'm going to have that conversation with Kate on this Let's Talk session. So before we get started, I just want to introduce me and Kate, and then we'll get chatting. So my name's Donna, and I'm the host of these LinkedIn Lives on behalf of NoraBox. I've got shoulder long brown hair, and I'm wearing a NoraBox t-shirt. And I'm joined, as I say, by the brilliant Kate O'Neill. Now, Kate, you are a suicide prevention worker and a befriending coordinator. And as I said, you're part of the CPSL Mind family. And just so folks are aware, CPSL is Cambridgeshire, Peterborough, South Lincolnshire, and Mind, of course, all the great work that your organisation does. Kate, before we get started, I don't know if you want to say a few words about yourself.
Yeah, thank you. Well, thank you for inviting me to talk with you. We've really admired the work that you do at NeuroBox, so it's just so nice to collaborate on World Mental Health Day as well. Just to introduce myself, so as Donna has said, my name is Kate O'Neill, and I work for CPSL Mind as a suicide prevention worker. I've got strawberry blonde long hair, and I'm wearing a brown cardigan today.
Brilliant. Thank you, Kate. Well, let's get chatting. As I say, we're going to gently go through this because we know this is a highly sensitive subject, but it's one that we don't want to shy away from. And I know that you and I really want to keep this conversation really constructive and spotlight the great work that's happening to prevent people from having these dark thoughts and thinking of hurting themselves and suicide in this way. As I said a little earlier, we know that unfortunately our neurodivergent community is very vulnerable in this way. And I have your permission to share that you've got lived experience of autism, Kate, so you know of what you speak. You are part of our neurodivergent community in that way. Can you share then, on the back of that, the great work that the project that you work on is doing around, it's called Stop Suicide, isn't it? So preventing suicide in that way.
Yeah, that's right. So, the project itself is called the Suicide Prevention Capacity Builder Project, which is a real mouthful to say. And it's a 1-year project. It's facilitated by us here at Mind. We're a small team of 4 of us, and we're working in conjunction with other teams at Cambridgeshire CPSL Mind. The project is funded by the Department of Health and Social Care, the Suicide Prevention Grant. And I'll kind of explain a little bit about what we've been doing so far. So we've taken the current Stop Suicide workshops that CPSL Mind already deliver and have been delivering for years, and we've been adapting them for 3 high-risk communities. And these communities were identified in the last Cambridgeshire and Peterborough suicide audit. And the last one that we have access to is the 2019 to 2021 audit. And the 3 communities that were identified in that audit were the LGBTQ plus community, the migrated community, and also the neurodivergent community. So that's why we kind of got in touch through that connection.
Yeah, thank you. It's, for a lot of folks, maybe they're quite shocked by that, as feeling that these are the vulnerable groups. What led you to that conclusion then? You talked there about research. unpack a little bit about, obviously, we're very concerned about all those communities, and there will be an intersectional overlap, won't there, of folks from the LGBTQIA plus community who are also neurodivergent, who are also newcomers into the UK and so on. So we will have overlaps in terms of, folks facing many of these issues, which, really sadly, you guys have identified as vulnerable groups. But talk me through how that identification occurred in terms of, the conclusions about for neurodiversity, why this is a vulnerable group.
Yeah, absolutely, and you're so right. We've really realised over the course of the project how much intersection there is between the three groups that we've been working with. So as I said, we started with the Cambridgeshire and Peterborough suicide audit from 2019 to 2021. And that highlighted a statistic that 10% of the 208 suicides recorded during that period were those of neurodivergent individuals. So that's a really high percentage. And we were also aware with this statistic that that those findings are probably actually an underestimate. So it's probably a higher statistic in actuality. As so many of us are aware, there's a lot of underdiagnosis still. There's a lot of misdiagnosis still. So people who are likely neurodivergent but have been misdiagnosed with other conditions. And also, as with any audit, there was just lack of specific data on neurodivergence. So those statistics are likely more actually higher in reality. We know from studies that autistic people are 7 times more likely to die by suicide than the general population. And we also know that adults with ADHD, so another kind of neurodivergence, are 5 times more likely to attempt suicide. So what we did with those statistics, because I think statistics can feel quite cold and it's hard to imagine them in actuality. We have partnered with 3 different organisations in Cambridgeshire and Peterborough. We're working with Safe Soulmates, who work alongside the neurodivergent population, the Kite Trust, who work with the LGBTQ plus community, and the Boston Wellbeing Hub over in South Lincolnshire, who do some work supporting the migrated community. And we ran some focus groups so that we could co-produce some new Stop Suicide workshops, which were adapted for these communities. And out of the focus groups, the lived experience that people shared and the input that we had into the focus groups really kind of clarified and sort of put those statistics into the real world, if that makes sense. So we were kind of able to find out kind of the reasons that those statistics are so high. And I was going to share a little bit, if that's okay, more about kind of the reasons for that.
Yes, please do, Kate. I think a lot of people will take heart from what you say, because I think when we hear those statistics, and I'll talk about myself for a few seconds, I feel very sad. I feel almost a sense of, I'm going to say, hopelessness in terms of the statistics about our community are so sad, and we're trying to figure out why this is happening. So to hear that you guys have joined together with other organisations who serve those communities to figure out, what might be going on here, and make sure the message really is totally fit for purpose in terms of trying to prevent this from happening. I certainly take great heart from that. And that's why we wanted to spotlight this work, because it's an exemplar of wonderful practice. So yes, anything you want to share on the back of that, Kate, I know we'd love to hear from it. So please carry on.
Thank you. And yeah, it's been such a collaborative process making the training as well, and we were really keen to make sure that lived experience was absolutely at the heart of it. And we've been really supported by other organisations as well, such as yourselves at Neurobox. When we reached out to you, you are very supportive and helpful in sharing your knowledge, as well as other suicide prevention organisations, such as the Zero Suicide Alliance. So yeah, it's been so collaborative, and it's the knowledge and lived experience has come from kind of all sides. So that's been really heartening as well. But I was just going to highlight, to use this opportunity to kind of highlight the challenges that there are for neurodivergent people when it comes to mental health, and the reasons that these statistics are so high. And these this is what came out of the focus group. So this is what people told us from their lived experience. So one of those things is something called masking, which some people may be aware is a strategy which is used by neurodivergent individuals to kind of hide their real selves, to fit in socially or in the workplace, and avoid harm, really. And that's a really it's quite an intensive process to have to be upkeeping all the time, and it can really affect people's mental health negatively. So that's one of the issues that was came out of the focus groups. Then we have conditions that are often co-occurring with neurodivergence, such as alexithymia, which is another very friendly word, which what it means is kind of difficulty in recognizing and expressing emotions. So that's obviously going to lead to mental health challenges in some cases. More generally, we were told about just lack of appropriate healthcare, like be that physical healthcare, mental healthcare, and barriers to accessing work, which again is why we're so pleased to be in contact with Neurobox, because I know that's an area of work that you're really championing the support of. And barriers to accessing both work and housing. And kind of what we realised throughout these the focus groups and the workshops really is it's just the long-term stress that builds up from living in a world that is not set up for neurodivergent people, which I'm sure is something that you're really aware of with the work that you do as well. And something that we keep hearing about increasingly at the moment is something called autistic burnout, which again is a condition that comes from that build-up of stresses caused by living in a world that is completely set up for the neurotypical brain, and just doesn't have the adequate support systems for neurodivergent people. And autistic burnout it's kind of a really severe form of burnout, characterized by, as you would expect, kind of long-term exhaustion, but also the loss of basic skills, basic functioning. So that renders kind of, work can become completely impossible. And it's also, unfortunately, accompanied sometimes by suicidality, and that's why it's so important for us to talk about it here today as well, because it's not only really debilitating, but also potentially a risk to life. So that's something.
Kate, it's really insightful. Thank you for sharing that. I think this reinforces the importance of the work around raising awareness about neurodiversity. There'll be some, individuals listening to this, but also maybe some organisations thinking about why these issues really matter. And there's lots of layers to why it matters, but I think maybe for some of us, we haven't realised that actually raising awareness around neurodiversity actually is connected to these issues as well, about, like you say, people hiding of themselves in order to survive in work, and experiencing burnout and what that means to them. And again, maybe even hiding the fact that they're experiencing burnout,
Yeah.
which just causes this total imbalance and dysregulation, I guess. On the back of that, then, um, what does this training, the great work that you do, what have you learned from that, and what do you kind of put into place then to try and raise awareness and give us ideas about what we can start to do to make
Yeah.
the changes that we want to see?
Yeah, thank you for asking about that. Yeah, so there are the training that we've created, so co-produced with alongside our partners. There are 6 main areas that the new workshops cover. So first of all, we focus on identifying people at risk of suicide. So looking for what the signs of suicidality might look like, and how we can recognise them in other people. We look at communities that are at particular risk. So I've already spoken about the 3 high risk communities that were identified, but we also talk about other communities because they're not the only ones. So as many of us are aware, middle-aged men remain a high risk group alongside others. So we talk about the other communities as well. Then we focus on learning how to talk openly about suicide, and I think this is one of the absolute keys of taking one of these workshops. So using the word, addressing it directly, and not kind of using euphemisms or dancing about the subject, and really just talking about it directly and helping people to have those conversations. So the training also, we try to help prepare people to have those conversations and invite people to talk about it. Then we talk about helping someone at risk to stay safe. So if somebody has disclosed suicidal thoughts to you, how you can actually respond to that and how you can help them to stay safe, which is obviously really important. We talk about safety plans, and they are a resource which can be used to help somebody stay safe when they're in crisis. So a reminder of the things that you can do that work for you. So they're really personal, but they can also be used to kind of allay the onset of a crisis as well. So if you're feeling that you're sort of starting to come towards, or your mental health is declining, you can kind of put your safety plan into practice before you reach crisis point. So that's also something that we look at. Then we spend some time looking at available crisis and support services. So they're both locally and nationally. So the training focuses on Cambridgeshire, Peterborough and South Lincolnshire. So we have some really specific, geographically specific support services, but then we look kind of more nationally at other helplines and places that people can reach out to, both online and in person. And then really importantly, we kind of round up with teaching participants to look after their own well-being. So the importance of boundaries and keeping yourself safe, especially if you're somebody that's doing this a lot, but for somebody who has never done this before, how can you look after yourself afterwards? So yeah, those are kind of the main areas of the training. And just to say that the workshops are currently being delivered as of the end of September, and we're really keen for people to sign up who are watching this today. So I'm going to share the link with you, Donna, so that people can have the opportunity to sign up via our Eventbrite page.
Yeah, thank you, Kate. I was going to ask, how can folks reach out?
Yes.
For clarity, it is in that part of the UK, isn't it? We wanted to spotlight the work that you do, because I was just going to say, as you were sharing that list, that's a fantastic framework of how you can take people who want to find out more through all the issues, the different layers here, with some very practical, real suggestions about how we can make a difference. For CPSL Mind, that this piece of work is in the regions that we talked about, isn't it, Kate?
That's right.
Yeah,
Yes.
we
Yeah.
just
So
want to
we're
make that
reaching out.
clear. folks.
Yeah, we're reaching out to people in Cambridgeshire, Peterborough, and South Lincolnshire.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
Yeah.
But also Mind Work, of course they do nationally. I mean, we're all very familiar with the great work that Mind do. So for those of us who aren't in that part of the world, there's lots of great support now and information out there as well nationally, isn't there, Kate?
Yeah, absolutely. So,
Yeah.
we're working with CPSL Mind, and if you do want to get in touch with us specifically, we do have we're on Instagram and LinkedIn. The Stop Suicide campaign has its own Instagram page, which I'll share because there's some sort of educational and resources posts about our project specifically, as well as the Stop Suicide campaign more generally. And CPSL Mind on LinkedIn will be kind of sharing across the organisation all of the different services that we're offering. So that would be the place to start for kind of contacting us.
Yeah, thank you, Kate. Because I think when we see these beacons of great practice, as you guys are working on there at CPSL, I think it's important that we shine a spotlight to that, because I know when we've chatted previously, what you're sharing around our neurodivergent community, yes, it's really concerning, but actually what you're doing around it is very constructive, and it's a positive response. As ever we can be positive about these issues, but it's a positive constructive response to these issues that you've highlighted so very well. What do you do then to support individuals? You've talked about the training, and as I say, it's a brilliant roadmap of how to take people through to try and make a difference. How do you support individuals?
So I'll just first of all quickly say with the training to support people to actually access it, because it feels really relevant for World Mental Health Day and the theme this week, that we really have tried to be as inclusive as possible. So we've kind of made different ways of participating in the training. So we made an easy read and dyslexia friendly slide deck of the workshops, so that anybody can access those. And we also have a black and white slide deck with some coloured overlays that can be used at the in-person workshops. And we've tried to make different ways of participating. So there's kind of a post-it note system. So if people don't want to kind of speak directly into the group when they take the workshop, and we've also used the anonymous Q&A function on Teams for the online version. And we just really wanted to say that if anybody has any kind of other accessibility needs, then it would be we'd be really happy to chat with you about that, so that you'd be able to access the training that we're offering. So that's kind of what we've done to support individuals for accessing the training. But to talk kind of more generally about CPSL Mind and all of our services, there's kind of a lot that we've got on offer. So I'll speak about some of the
Yes,
a couple
please
of
do.
the
Yes.
biggest services. So in general, we are supporting the mental health and wellbeing of people both in the community and at our venues throughout Cambridgeshire, Peterborough and South Lincolnshire. And one of our biggest services that my team has been working really closely with is our training team, and they offer a whole training programme of different workshops and sessions on all sorts of topics, from personal wellbeing to general mental health awareness. And they are also one of the teams, we're one of the organisations who deliver the mental health first aid training, which you may know about already, and that's a nationally recognised certification to become a mental health first aid trainer. So that's a really great offering that the training team has, and again that can all be found on our website, which I'll share with you, Donna.
Yes,
And then I'm aware of the time, so I'll just talk quickly about a couple of other of our services. So one of our biggest services, it's a really holistic service. It's called the Good Life Service, and it kind of has a lot of strands to it. So it offers both one-to-one and group-based support, and the focus is on enhancing community connectivity in Cambridgeshire and Peterborough. So there are some different things that are offered. We have something called our Good Mood Cafes, which run in community venues, and people can come together and connect and maybe find new friends or peer support contacts. And so that's a really nice opportunity for connection. We also run sessions at something called our Calm Spaces, and again they're community venues, but also take place online, and people can join us to learn sort of relaxation techniques, grounding techniques, ways of coping with stress, which I appreciate is something that we all are having to deal with. And then we have our online support and wellbeing community that we run in conjunction with Quell. And you can just sign up to that yourself via our website. And then you access a whole range of resources, from peer support to self-help resources. There's an online magazine that they produce, and also chat-based counselling. And again, that's all you can refer yourself for that via our website. So I'll just mention that we also have an information and inquiries team. So they would be kind of your first point of contact for CPSL Mind, and you can find their number and email on our website, and they are able to point you in the direction. So if you're looking for some quite specific mental health support, do have a look and get in touch with them, because it may be that you don't find it immediately, but they'll be able to help you with that. So that's a little bit more about some of our services at CPSL.
Well, thank you, Kate, for everything that you guys are doing, and across the whole organisation at Mind. Every day is Mental Health Awareness Day, really, isn't it? It should be, because it's part of our lives for some of us. But actually, these awareness times are kind of useful, because it gives a spotlight, a moment where we can remind ourselves that there's a lot of support out there, or raise awareness. So we know that these are ongoing journeys people have. It's not just today, it's all days, isn't it? And so, but thank you for making time for us. We know how busy you are, for all the reasons that you've shared. These are huge issues that our community are dealing with. But thank you for the service to that community. It's greatly appreciated. And anything we can do at NoraBox, and for me as an individual, more always happy to support. Beyond that, Kate shared, for those of you listening, the importance of community. And I often say on these conversations, the importance of feeling that you're not alone. And as we know, for some of our neurodivergent community, these might be issues that you are living with right now. Please know that you are not on your own. And Kate has very kindly said that people can reach out to you, Kate. You're there for folks. I'm there. NoraBox is here. The work that Mind do in this space, they are very dedicated. This is why we wanted to share, because there's some fantastic work going on, which hopefully we can all get, really heartened by, in terms of the wisdom that's out there, the support, the care that we've got that's out there. So please do reach out. NoraBox on the back of this will share some information. You've probably seen today, there's lots of helplines, lots of things people are sharing across the platform today, as we have this focus on mental health. But again, thank you, Kate. That was a really insightful and gentle, sensitive way that you've guided us through. So thank you for everything you do. We know this conversation is highly sensitive. And what we hope for those of you listening is that we've took you through with sensitivity and respect and responsibility for this subject. There are a lot of us still feel It's kind of taboo, unfortunately. But I
Mm.
love what you said, Kate, about breaking down those barriers by openly talking in this way. And that's what we're passionate here at NoraBox about doing. So thank you, Kate, and thank you to everybody who's listening to this conversation. Until next time, thank you for your company, and let's keep talking about these really important issues. Thank you, everyone.